welcome to the program. I'm Gigi Kopilak. This program is sponsored by the Pleasantville Garden Club, and I'm very happy with our guest tonight. It's MJ Wilson. She is a founder of Leaves, Love Them and Leave Them, and we're going to learn an awful lot about ecologically benefiting our neighborhood. Welcome, MJ.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. So tell us a little bit about your background, because I know that you have an extensive background in this subject of leaves and ecology. And
well, I've been concerned and respectful and appreciative of the environment for a very, very long time. And I'm concerned about what's happening in the environment recently in particular. And what I get really pleased when I can find an initiative that anybody and everybody can do their part in. And with this initiative, you can have people do very sophisticated things, or you can have people do very simple things, and benefits result.
Right. And this is a very simple thing that I think is so important, because it's something we can all do. And this is, and I love your title, Leaves, Love Them or Leave Them.
That came out of a brainstorming session of the Green Policy Task Force
Okay.
Leaf Subcommittee.
Okay. So that's one of the things you're on, this Green Policy Task Force.
In the village of Irvington.
Okay.
And I also am a certified master composter recycler, which is a program that's offered in Westchester County.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a program or two a year. And so people can go and learn a lot about composting and recycling. It was a fascinating program.
Right, but for the town of Irvington.
No, this was through Sheldrake Environmental Center.
Okay. All right.
And people from all over the county came down to Sheldrake and went through this program. And it was great.
Okay.
I am also the zero waste coordinator for the Hudson River Revival Festival that takes place in the Croton Point Park every June.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that for 2 years now, and that's been a tremendous opportunity to do environmental good.
Okay, so tell us this problem now that we have with the leaves. Okay.
Well, it's a problem we've made for ourselves. I mean, the leaves are a natural part of our environment. We love our trees. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous. And trees help improve property value, trees help purify the air, trees help remediate stormwater. Some trees are actually very good shelter and food for a lot of different wildlife. And one of the things that they do is they make leaves. And how they make leaves is they pull up nutrients from deep in the soil that aren't otherwise available to other plants. And they make leaves. I mean, they make wood and they make leaves. And because we have a cold climate, we have leaves, we have trees that are deciduous trees, i.e. they drop their leaves in the fall. And so here is this material that the trees worked hard to make, and they are done with them for this season. And we go and we clean them all up, and we, at great labor expense and great time consuming, and then we haul them away at great municipal expense and great resource expense, diesel trucks and leaf blowers and all that other stuff like that, where what we're doing is we're taking something the trees need for next year. Right.
And let's just interject that it's over $7 million that Westchester County alone spends on cleaning up this yard waste.
Well, different municipalities have different procedures.
Okay.
And some municipalities, as I understand it with Pleasantville, Pleasantville does collect their leaves, which is a municipal cost, but they do have a composting site, and they then compost those leaves and they make them available to the village. So that's one way. Another way that's common in the county, in the waste districts, is that in Irvington, the village of Irvington is responsible for collecting the leaves from the streets that residents have put there. Even though they're not supposed to put them in the streets, they're supposed to put them on the edge of the property, but they often find their way, great amounts of them find their way into the streets anyway.
I think the landscapers blow them into the street, but okay.
There are many guilty parties.
Okay.
And so then the village goes and collects all this up, and they take it to a transfer station, and that's the village's responsibility. And then the county contracts for trucks to come to these transfer stations and load up. Then the county hauls this yard waste to wherever they have a contract with, and then they pay to have this material taken care of. And the tipping fee to Irvington is $15 a ton, and the county, I believe, pays something in the area of $35. additional.
And this is something that we could really use on our property if we did.
Yes.
You know.
Our property needs it.
Right. But let's just talk about, because blowing is not good. The way what we do now, it hurts the soil.
Oh, it does tremendous damage to the soil when you have aggressive blowing, leaf blowing. When you blow the leaves off, you're blowing the top duff layer of the soil off, and you're blowing everything almost down to like solid hardscape.
Really?
Which is not a good thing. The roots need cooling. The roots need that duff layer in order for a lot of the different microbes to be going on, in order to have good, healthy soil. So when the leaves fall, one of the easiest things that can be done is you mulch mow them into the lawn, if you have lawn. So you just get a mulch mower, and if you do your own lawn, you can even take, as you mentioned, your daughter, right?
Right.
She just has a regular mower.
Right.
And just mows them in until they're a fine enough particle.
She gathered them all together and then put the mower on top of it and then just rake them into the flower bed.
Well, that's one thing, because there's a lot of different things you can do. And once again, different people, what we would like for different people, for everybody to do is to find their own way into this practice. Okay. So if you do have landscapers taking care of your lawn and you got a lot of lawn, there are landscapers out there now who are doing that as a part of their professional practice, where they go over and the leaves that fall, they mow them. Like they're mowing grass. They mow the leaves in, and with their big mowers, with a modest extra equipment. You don't have to have the extra equipment, but it's more effective and faster if you have this extra, if you have these blades that are helpful and a gate on the mower itself. You just mow it in.
But how much can you leave there?
A lot.
You can?
Because the thing is, it's shredding it down into this really fine particles. And what they do is they work their way into the blades.
Okay.
And then they get down into the blades, because you do not want to leave unshredded leaves on top of turf.
Right.
That will cause harm to the turf. So we're not advocating that. So you mow, and you got these little fine particles, and they work their way into the blades.
Into the grass blades, right?
Yeah, not the mower blades, but they work their way into the grass blades, and then there's this nice layer of cushioning, and that helps actually protect the turf and the roots over the winter, and it breaks down because it's shredded. There's a lot of surface area for the biodegradation to take place, and as it breaks down, it releases nutrients. And on the turf itself, it actually helps with the resiliency of the turf. And there's been some science that they've been finding where it actually improves the health of the turf.
Really?
And there's some speculation it might even reduce weeds. And
what if you start with weeds? I have a lot of crabgrass on mine. Yeah, but that's okay. That's a
different conversation.
Right.
Different conversation. I personally think there's a lot of lawns that could be turned into very productive gardens, and whether they're wildlife gardens or food gardens.
Well, I won't use anything on my lawn. It's not safe for the environment. But I will say that I asked my landscaper to do just what you said, but he has the bag on the back, and I thought he could put them in the bag and just put them in a pile.
Well, if that's what you want. See, once again, there's a lot of different variation that you can do. The leaves are a tremendous resource. So if people want to have them on their turf, they can mulch mow them into the turf. If you've got nice perennial beds, or if you've got tree beds that you want to actually have some good mulching for, and mulch over time, it breaks down into food.
Right.
Wood chips take a long time to break down into food. Shredded leaves turn into food very quickly.
Right. I think you said you started one in December or something, and by June it was all.
I took one season's leaves. I shredded them with a personal shredder, which is like a weed whacker in a tube. And
a weed. I thought there was really a weed whacker that you could put into a garbage bin.
Some people do that.
Okay.
Some people make their own thing, and they have a garbage can, and they put the leaves in, and they take their weed whacker. I don't have a weed whacker, but I bought this device. It's like this sort of a cylinder, and in the bottom, instead of having a blade, which can be a little dangerous, it's just got the weed whacker thing with the threads.
Oh, interesting.
And then you just put the leaves in there, and you can adjust how fine or how large you shred it.
Right.
And then, so I shredded it down, and I put it in a pile, and I left it. And then by next June,
it was all compost.
I had really great soil amendment.
Yeah, and that's all you need, really. You don't need to add anything to that. That's compost that has everything, all the nutrients that it needs.
Well, if you really are getting into this,
Okay.
which Cornell Cooperative Extension has got some great information. Their master gardeners are highly trained on this, but Cornell is also an excellent resource. And there's some good online resources. It depends on what you're growing. So there are certain plants that require specific kind of nutrients.
Okay.
And so, but for a forested area, which is what this is the Northeast. This is a forested habitat.
Right,
that's the origins of it. That provides a lot of nutrients.
Okay.
And so you can put them on your perennial beds if you've got that. If you want to compost, this is not a composting initiative, but if you want to compost, it's a great. The shredded leaves are great material to add with your food scraps, because for composting you have to. It's most effective when you've got a good carbon-nitrogen ratio. Right. So the leaves can be the good
something
ground.
Brown, something green is what, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you can have, you can just have a stash, whether it's a bag or an old garbage can full of shredded leaves, and then you can mix them in with your food scraps, and you've got better composting results.
Right. Right. But there are some other ways though too. You mentioned a vacuum.
There's actually Toro, and I'm not advocating any particular brand, but Toro makes this cool tool that, and I have one. It's electric. And you can use it as a leaf blower to blow leaves, and it's a modest power, so it's not one of those things that blows everything off upon contact. And then you can convert it to a thing that's got this big extension. It's got this big device that looks like it's a column, right. And you can sort of maneuver that around in your beds to suck up leaves. It shreds it, and then it has it in a bag. And so, like on this along my driveway, I have a bed where there are daffodils and crocuses and stuff like that. So they don't like having shredded leaves on top of them all winter, because then in the spring it's harder for them to come up.
Oh, okay.
So if you vacuum out the leaves, shred them, and put them back on, that gives them winter protection, helps protect the roots, and it helps beneficial soil organisms overwinter.
Okay.
And then it's
spring,
very easy for the bulb leaves to
come through. But so in the spring you take it off, then you just leave it. So it's shredded is because you're saying you wouldn't leave the whole leaf on.
When I do not get around to it, I leave it mats up, and then I do have to remove it.
Yeah, but you can't do them when they're wet. You can't do the leaves when they're wet.
You can. It's harder. You can. I tried. Sometimes you have to make amends for your mistakes.
Yeah.
But also this barrel shredder that I have, you can shred wet leaves.
Oh, okay.
It's a more difficult process. They're heavier, as well as they clog up a bit more. But you can if you're up against it.
Well, I think it sounds like a lot of work. I wonder how many people are willing to do that rather than give up and just say, let my landscaper take care of it. I mean, how important is this, really?
I think it's essential.
Okay.
But, and there are landscapers who are doing this.
Are there?
So, and as a part of the Love 'em and Leave 'em initiative, there's a couple landscapers that we've worked with who we've had some landscaper training. So it's landscaper talking to landscaper. And they know their own businesses, they know the business, and they know the difficulties and the challenges that they run into. And there's some landscapers who have tackled multiple kinds of properties, and they've found ways to make this work. And they say it's actually easier for them to do this.
No kidding.
It's less physical stress, wear and tear. It's less wear and tear on their equipment. So
I know my landscaper. I feel so bad for the guys that are walking around don't have ear things on that are blowing that thing, and the gas that's going into the environment, and the
there's a huge pollution. It contributes to a lot of pollution.
Right.
And so if you've got landscapers, the landscapers can do it. On the Love 'em and Leave 'em website, we have a lot of links. We have some YouTubes where there are landscapers, little film clips of landscapers.
What was the name of we're going? The Cornell Extension, is it, that we're going to find out this about all these YouTubes and everything?
No, that's the Irvington Green Policy Task Force website on the Village of Irvington.
Irvington Green Policy Task Force. So we could do a search.
Yes.
If we could remember those words.
Yes, but it's also it's on one of those signs that's sitting over there.
Oh, okay. So we're going to
we can add that.
We can add that. The LELE.
The Love 'em and Leave 'em sign has got the website on it.
Okay. And on there is a YouTube.
Lots of stuff. There's YouTubes of individual, like private people mulch mowing, shredding their leaves, making compost bins. There's clips of landscapers and the different ways that they're doing their work. We did a conversation cafe through Westchester County in May, and that's all recorded. So that's online. And Mark Gilliland from the Green Policy Task Force did a presentation. And Jaffe Holmes in Greenberg Nature Center was the moderator. Somebody from the Marianne Petronelli from the county was there, so that they're endorsing that municipalities do this. And they've been helpful in providing us figures of what the cost is for us to be wasting this great resource. I mean, it's like silly that we're treating this as waste.
But some of us have an awful lot of leaves, you know, like
with my funky little personal leaf thing. It takes it 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
So if I have 10 bags of leaves and I run it through my little weed whacker in a tube, it takes it down to 1 bag.
And you
a very heavy bag, but 1 bag.
Okay. Yeah, you don't lose the weight. It's like a pound of feathers and a pound of bricks. It's still a pound.
It's still a pound.
Right.
But and then with the professionals with their heavy-duty mowers, they actually can shred it finer.
Really?
So leaves, when you run through leaves or when you play with piles of leaves, it looks like a lot, but there's not a lot there.
No, when it's all I find that sometimes we have to put it through twice. We have this vacuum thing, and then it shreds it, and it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe
well, different kind of leaves have different characteristics.
Oh, okay.
Oak leaves have they're heavy in tannin.
Yeah, that's what we have.
And so they're tougher.
Yeah.
If you don't shred them, they take longer to break down.
Right.
They're one of the longest term ones. But tannin, it's why oak wood is so good.
Yeah.
And so
would my landscaper be able to shred them to small?
Sure.
Oh yeah. All right.
Sure.
With his mower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even if they're not tiny, you know, still in a couple weeks as the wind blows over the lawn or people walk on the lawn, you know, it works its way down.
Right.
Now, some people, they talk about the aesthetics of it, you know, because they want these pristine golf course looking lawns.
But it doesn't sound like you lose that. It sounds like this goes into the blades. And
sometimes it can take a day or two for it all to work down.
Okay.
But you're not having masses of leaves there. There are some property owners who they didn't even know that this was being done on their property. Their landscaper just did it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they didn't even know.
Yeah.
So they didn't notice any difference.
Interesting.
So it's not, you know, it's not an odd looking thing. It's not.
Well, we should be used to it though. I mean, even if it was different, if it's a change and we have to get used to it, we would get used to it. So.
Well, it's a change, but to me, it's a change towards sanity.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it really is. It is. You're not wasting municipal dollars. You know, the municipalities have got a tremendous amount of other work they need to be doing. You know, between the storms that we've been having with stormwater damage and infrastructure upgrades and stuff like that, to me, it's kind of silly to have these professionals cleaning up our leaves off the street.
Right.
If it were a resource that we couldn't use, then that's an essential service.
Right.
But it's a resource that your grass can use, your flowers can use, your trees can use. And it also, you know, there are some people who like the idea because when you leave that kind of leaf stuff, the fluffy stuff on top, the birds can go through and they can scratch up and they can find like the insects and they can find the worms and stuff like that. When we've got the soil that's been blown completely down,
right,
there's not much for the birds to work with.
Right. Well, what would you say about people that have the leaves like on patios and not on top of the grass?
Once again, that depends on their temperament and what else they have. Like for me, I don't have lawn. So all the leaves that I process, they're basically the stuff that is on my hardscape or like the driveway and the walkway and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's a couple perennial beds, like I said, that they don't like being soggy over the winter.
Right.
And so I work with those leaves. And if you there's actually we experimented with this last fall in Irvington. We got a late start. You know, we tried working on it, and there was somebody who actually called DPW and they say, I don't have enough leaves, I want more.
Oh.
So
So that's a good idea. Get together with your neighbors, right?
Or if there's a community garden,
Right.
take the leaves and contribute them to the community garden. There's a lot of different things that could be done with them.
Right.
And even like once again, if you've got them on the patio, shred them. And like this leaf shredder that I have, it costs maybe, I think it's around $200. But not everybody needs one. So you can actually share it along the street because you only use it for a few days out of the year. So you could take turns using it. Or even if a Boy Scout troop would want to do this as a public service, they could go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and they could bring their long extension cord, they could bring their their leaf thing, and if they wanted to have their
That's a new job. You're creating a new job. Look at this.
Well, I mean, this would be a public service.
Right.
They want community service,
terrific.
right?
Yeah, that's just great. Yeah, someone could go around with their little thing and blow other people's leaves.
But help them process them into nutrients for their property.
Exactly.
Because it's like we spend all this time taking care of the lawn. We feed the lawn. We feed the trees. We do this. We do that. And then we take what they produce and throw it away. So then you have to feed it again. And you have to go to the store and you have to buy bags of stuff that's in plastic. And so by interfering with the natural process, we're having unintended consequences. And this is something that you can be as sophisticated with it as you want. If you want to go into composting and vermicomposting, or if you want to have leaf corrals or whatever you want. But the bottom line is you can simply just take a mower, whether you're a private citizen and mow your grass or you're a landscaper, mulch them into the lawn.
That's great. I think Irvington is very lucky to have you. I'd like to invite Ann Jaffe Holmes to come and talk about the rest of the county. But I want to thank you so much for coming. This is so interesting, so interesting.
You're very welcome. It's something I enjoy talking about, and I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity to come up to Pleasantville.
Thank you. And now I'm lucky enough to be sitting here with Ann Jaffe Holmes from the Greenberg Nature Center. Welcome, Ann. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you.
Tell me, how is the Greenberg Nature Center involved in all of this?
The Greenberg Nature Center is a 33-acre preserve down in urbanized southern Westchester. We're a place where people come to connect with nature and learn about natural systems and how to live in our world. And the Greenberg Nature Center runs environmental education programs for residents, families, schools, and also for municipalities and also commercial institutions and commercial businesses.
Okay. I always think of you as having the animals there, but you are more than that, obviously.
Yes.
And this is something I'm just learning. And so how did you get involved? Are you part of this Love 'em and Leave 'em? And
Yes. Actually, I'm really lucky because in my volunteer work for my village, which is Irvington, I got involved in the Climate Action Task Force and the Green Policy Task Force initiative for Love 'em and Leave 'em. So I've been there from the start, working with M.J. Wilson and Mark Gilliland and Nikki Coddington and Joan Dinowitz and Francis Gowdy, and it's developed from there. Been taken off by other municipalities all over Westchester County because it makes so much sense.
Right.
It makes sense as in CENTS as well as SENSE.
Very cool. This is a good slogan.
It makes a good slogan, yeah.
And so the Greenberg Nature Center, because I feel like you're wearing two hats here. You're with Irvington.
Well, the Greenberg Nature Center, we run a lot of programs and we provide a platform for environmental ideas and forums. And the first thing we did was we held a training session for landscapers. Okay. And we had landscapers teaching other landscapers at the Greenberg Nature Center. We ran a couple of those, actually. And then we helped organize a giant forum at the Greenberg Public Library. From that, it started spinning like crazy and going viral throughout the county. We've got programs going on in Bronxville and Chappaqua, here in Pleasantville, and also Bedford and Irvington and Hastings and all over the county now.
So how long has this been going on? When did this all start?
It started in July of 2011.
Really?
No, July 2010.
Okay.
A year ago, this past July.
Yeah. So you really
it's only 14 months.
And you really feel like you've gotten the word out?
Well, there's a lot more word to be getting out because, as you had in your discussion with MJ, there's a lot of resistance, people afraid to let go of the way they've been doing things, and also questions about the aesthetics of it. But that will shift as people see demonstration properties, and they see villages adopting this on their public properties, and that it really looks beautiful. And the aesthetic will change, and people will begin to say, you know, shredded leaves looks as pretty on my garden beds, or prettier than red dyed pine bark mulch, which is very expensive.
I know, but you could still, I mean, if you really didn't want to give it up immediately, you could leave the leaves and put the pine bark
on top dress it.
Yes.
A lot of the landscapers are saying, you know, we'll make our customers happy. We'll put some mulch leaves down to feed the roots of the plants, and then we'll just top dress it with some red pine bark mulch, whatever they want.
So is the Greenberg Nature Center a place that anyone in the county can call and ask questions and find out?
Absolutely, absolutely. And our grounds are open dawn till dusk to the public for free. And people can come. Our building is open Saturday through Thursday from 9:30 to 4:30. And they can call anytime. You can get on our website and call us with questions about Love 'em and Leave 'em.
Yeah. And do you think, though, that people are open to this? Are they resistant to it, or do you find that as soon as you present it, people say, wow, why didn't I think of it? Or
almost everybody recognizes the inherent wisdom and actually brilliance of reverting back to the system that existed long before we did. We all remember jumping in leaves. We all remember leaves as fun. They've become a burden because blowing them and gathering them and bagging them and hauling them and paying our taxes so they can be hauled hundreds of miles away to turn into really good soil, you know, up in, Dutchess County or something.
Right.
It's silly and wasteful and exhausting. Right. And so people recognize that at some level. But people are very attached to the way they've seen their lawns, and they're worried. But quickly, when they see how the landscapers are doing it, these guys know how to do it. And they're training other landscapers. And pretty soon, all the landscapers throughout Westchester County are going to know how to do this and do it well, so that it looks good and it's very time conserving and also resource conserving.
Wow. Well, I wish we had more time for this.
Well, it's great. I'm really glad to be able to talk to you today, and looking forward to seeing how this takes off in Pleasantville. You're doing a great job here in Pleasantville with educating people about it.
Yep, I think it's going to be terrific, and I hope that you've listened to all of this, and we're going to see all that mulch on our leaves. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.